All right, so we're here to figure out what Craig was talking about with double hashing, well, actually, why Satoshi put it there in the first place. So, how does BSV allow illicit data to be removed without censoring you? Well, imagine you have bad.mov, right? It's a bad file. Well, the fingerprint of that, SHA-256, we have the fingerprint, right? And let's say somebody has something that they want to share with the world and they don't want it censored. So we're going to call it good.mp4. Okay. Good.mp4 versus bad. Okay, now we have a bad and a good fingerprint. All right, so we got the file here, a bad file, and we got a good file here, and we got the fingerprints for the files that any computer can generate as long as they have the files themselves. So let's say somebody sends some illicit data to a node. The node uses AI or whatever it does. It finds out, this is illicit data. I don't want to send it to all the other nodes because it might be breaking the law to do that. So what does it do? It sends the fingerprint, right? Now, the same thing could happen with the good file. Let's say a node is purposely wanting to censor someone. So they're like, wow, I don't like this information, right? But here's the thing. They might not want to send the fingerprint, but when that fingerprint gets sent out as part of a transaction, it gets accepted by the nodes with the transaction fee. The only thing that they are required to keep is the fingerprint, right? So say that node wants to ignore it altogether. Well, another node might take it and start sending out that fingerprint around because it accepted the transaction fee, right? So just because one node doesn't do what you want doesn't mean that they're all not going to do what you want. So now we have these fingerprints sent to the other nodes, okay? So now we have information. So say that we have a file that we didn't want censored. Well, since we have it in the Merkle chain, right? So we're going to show this, right? So now we got a Merkle tree of the hashes, right? You got the transactions themselves. Right? The transactions themselves have a hash to prove what the transaction is. Now you might have that bad one in here, and you might have that good one in here. And here's the thing. When you pass transactions around, the nodes want to make sure that the other nodes got the transaction. Not that they just got the hash, but they want to know that when they send the hash out, that the other node says, like, yeah, and I accepted that transaction. Because if they don't, they're not going to really build it into a block and have the same history of what coins are sent where. So you're going to want to know that the other nodes have the transaction itself. So, bad, good, right? You got these two different types of fingerprints. Illicit information, somebody puts some file, let's say somebody requests that information from a node. They try to ask the node. The node doesn't even have to have it, and they don't have to send it. But if they need to, they can prove what the fingerprint was. So if somebody else presents a file, say they're saying, hey, BSV, this node is censoring me. Well, the easiest way to prove that is to present the file to a court or to the world, even if they want to make it public, and show that, hey, this node is not giving away this data. You can request it. It won't give it to you, but here's the file to prove it matches with the fingerprint. I have the fingerprint path all the way up to the root. Okay? So Same thing with this. If somebody wants to prove in court, hey, we got possession of this illicit file, it's illegal, we're not allowed to have it here, and the node will have the information, the fingerprint that's associated with that file to prove, hey, we got it from this IP address, and they still can move on with life and keep processing transactions without worrying about sharing all this illicit information around. So Satoshi, in his wisdom, set up double hashing, and that's one of the two main things that makes it useful. So say thank you to Satoshi, and then say thank you to Craig for explaining this to everyone, because the reason I was able to figure this out is because Craig writes CraigWrite.net, and then he had also posted on Medium. So when CraigWrite.net was kind of locked up because of, I don't know, court cases, then I was able to get that information again from Medium, and then learn from some people online. See you guys in another video. Okay, so I made a video on how BSV removes illicit information without censoring you. Some people might think, but isn't that censorship? Well, yeah, but it's different from like a platform like, say, that's centrally controlled, the social media platform that can just delete things and you never know what was really there, right? So there's a difference between having the fingerprint to prove, if you want to, what was there and having a history versus having something you have no control over. You have nothing to prove to society. You can take screenshots, but I mean, screenshots is different than having the fingerprint of the data there on the chain. And plus, on top of that, they can't just remove anything for no reason, because the other nodes would also have to decide to remove it. That's the thing. So yeah, I'm going to probably add that in the description of the other video. Or, you know what, I'll just make this a separate video, and I'll just say this is a follow-up, and that will be my comments, I guess. Or let me just redo the video and add this at the end. Yeah.